I just went on Monday and saw the Odyssey, and let me tell you guys my thoughts, my opinions on the Odyssey. So, this was a movie that I did a little bit of research on seeing because, like I said, I'm very selective. You guys probably saw my hour-long movie video of me ranting how bad movies suck, and the fans don't get what the fans want to get. You pay all this money, the movies are kind of mediocre. The Odyssey is one of the best movies I think I've seen in a long time, and I think it would be the last movie. I guess the last two movies I saw would have been Avatar and Ballerina, Avatar 3, Ballerina, and the Odyssey was better than both of those. The Odyssey was amazing. It was amazingly shot. Obviously, I did a little bit of research, kind of got a little bit of spoilers because I was like, is this something worth seeing? I kind of, at school, we did a little bit of the Odyssey, and it was something that I particularly enjoyed. I thought it was interesting. I was like, you know what, it wasn't lame. I expected it to be lame, coming from the school district on something to learn, but I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than Romeo and Juliet or anything Shakespeare, but it was this movie, or the stories that we read were great, but this movie was amazing, amazing. I know that there was some controversies around the movie. I just kind of went in there and I was like, I could sit here and nitpick it. The controversies were in there for 4 minutes of the film, and everything I watched, everyone said that they were legitimately in it for 4 minutes in the movie, and I think it's probably going to be the best movie of the year. I know that Spider-Man's coming out. I am going to see that, and we have Avengers Doomsday, which I probably will see that. I am actually not probably. I am going to be seeing that. But the Odyssey, first of all, the performances in this movie: Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, the guy that plays Sid from Ice Age. Unfortunately, I do not know his name. He was outstanding. This is probably his best performance of his career that I've seen from him. He was decent in Violent Nights as a villain. In this, he was amazing. Anne Hathaway was amazing. Tom Holland, probably the best movie of his career, I would say, with serious acting. Robert Pattinson was great. Um, why am I blanking on his name? Matt Damon was great as always. I think he's always really good in movies that he's in. I don't know if it was the best performance of his career. I mean, Anne Hathaway she was great. The emotion. Tom Holland was great as well. Like, he was like getting angry a little bit in this movie, and I was like, whoa, because he's pretty chill dude. Even in like Spider-Man, he doesn't really get super angry. Even in Uncharted, and you kind of saw a little bit more aggressiveness. I thought he was great. John Berthal was great. I'm trying to think of who else was in this movie. I mean, just some of the best. I mean, you had some of the most A-list actors probably putting on some of the best performances of their career, and it was super duper enjoyable. Now, when I was in the theater watching it, I had a moment where I was like, is this as good as everyone was saying it was? I don't know, because I feel like because I listened to spoilers to see if I really want to go see the movie, so it's like already, because it's like, is it worth seeing? I want to know if it's worth seeing or not. And I do that every time, and then I go into it, and I'm like, it was alright. This one, I let marinate a little bit. It's Thursday, I saw this on Monday. I wanted it to marinate a little bit. I wanted to really stir on it. And the more I sat there and thought about this movie, the better it got. Now, I didn't know this because when we read the Odyssey in school, we it was snippets of it. It wasn't the whole text. Apparently, they changed a few things, and I know people are like, there's a Nolan twist. The twist was, spoiler alert, was that had like PTSD. Apparently, he didn't like the actions that he saw in Troy. I thought it was genius. Some people I think didn't like it. At least that's what I saw on the news, but that was my mistake for watching it. But I thought it was just a genius idea to sit there and think, he went to Troy and they're like ransacking it, and he's like, they brought this in as a peace offering, and we like crossed that line. We brought it in there and we just ransacked Troy. And it was very interesting. It was a very interesting take on, he like felt like it was disrespectful, like it wasn't honorable that they hid inside the Trojan horse and they come out and they just kill everybody and ransack the entire thing, when they saw that as a peace offering, when it was a respect. He didn't feel like it was a respectable thing to do. And I thought that was a really, really interesting take. And off bat, I really, really enjoyed the love story between Penelope and Odysseus. I thought that was amazing as well. Like, that's honestly what I thought about. Like, I'm thinking about it for 20 years. I am 20 as of February. So, if we want to put this into perspective, from 2000, let's see, from 2006 to 2026 would be how long he was away for. He would be away for 20 years. That is a really, really long time. That is my whole lifetime. So again, from 2026 to, or from 2006 to 2026, we think about how much has happened in between those time, the presidents we've been through, just as that, because that's like a really easy staple. We've been through like 4 or 5 different presidents. Technology has advanced. I mean, I have a podcast and I am talking to you on a podcast that you couldn't do in 2006. YouTube probably would be 1 year old in 2006, because I think it came out in 2005. So to sit there and think of all the things that have happened within 20 years, which would be my lifetime, he was gone for. And I loved the concept that she didn't remarry, that she was waiting for Odysseus for 20 years. They didn't have a new king. She knew he was alive, and she would not remarry, even though he said, give me the promise that you will remarry, because I'm probably not coming back. And I just loved that part. I loved that part, and because I loved it, because I always said the best love story we've ever seen is 300. 300, with Leonidas leading the 300 Spartans to go fight at the Battle of Thermopylae. Now, why do I think that that's the greatest love story? Because I think of that sacrifice of they sent 300 soldiers that they knew that they were going to die. 300 against like 10 to 20,000 Persians that were coming over to fight. And they gave up their lives for not only for the women, for like their women and their families, and for people to have freedom, which I think was the concept in the movie. I haven't seen it in 2 years. It's been a while. Love it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, probably top 5. Maybe I'll do a top 5 favorite movies for you guys at some point. But I always said that was one of the greatest love stories, because it was the concept of, they're fighting for their country, and they're leaving the 300 Spartans, and they're going out there and they're sacrificing themselves, that they know they're not going to win. Not only for, their people, but for the concept of freedom, and for the country. Like, they made a complete sacrifice that they knew they weren't going to win. And it's like, not only is it the love of their people and the families, because what was his name, Xerxes, said that we're going to go in there and we're going to like pillage everybody, and they're going to bend the knee, because if you don't surrender, that's what's going to happen. And they went and they fought out there. Oh my God, if you haven't seen 300, I recommend watch it. But I always said that one was one of the best love stories. This one might beat that out, because being gone for 20 years, the fact that Penelope did not remarry, refused to remarry, and he said, I believe he said in that film, promise me you will remarry. There is a possibility. He's like, I am not coming back. Straight up, he's like, I'm not coming back. Don't expect me to come back, because I'm not going to. And apparently that wasn't in the book, and I thought that was amazing. I thought that was one of the best the best part of the movie was that kind of love story, because he's 20 years trying to get his men and get his people, kind of similar to 300. He wants to get his people and get his people back home, because they went to war. And it was a respectable, it was like an honorable thing. obviously just really impressed me. It really hit home with me because I went on there and I looked up at the AI thing to see, what were the differences. And I did think it was weird because in the book it was about how Odysseus was super smart, where he wasn't all brains. Or I said brains and flex. It wasn't all bronze. It was brains that he would sit there and he took out the Cyclops and he took out, all these different things. He outsmarted everybody, and that was kind of glossed over. But at the same time, this story apparently is 3,000 years old. I haven't fact checked that, so I could be wrong. But the concept that this movie, or not this concept of the movie, but the concept of the fact that he was outsmarting everybody. We've seen so many different things like that. I feel like we have, and it's a story super old. So he went in there and changed it, and I loved the changes because he still had that cunning and he still was super smart. But it was like, I want to get my people home. I want to get home to see my wife. I want to get back to my country, and that's my sole focus. And amazing. Now, when I went in there and I did look up people's reviews, they were like, it was like kind of all out of order. I can agree, it is a little bit like, I feel like I did almost like it that he was, retelling, he was remembering what happened and we were seeing that. I feel like I liked it, but it was maybe a little bit too out of order. Like, we're seeing everything a little bit too out of order. We're jumping around quite a bit. And I do have to give something I should have mentioned early on. I did use the bathroom 3 times in this movie. Just came right off work. I got off early, went right there, spur of the moment thing, and I was just I was drinking. I was thirsty, so I missed a little bit there. I would go see it again, but I probably will watch it again and get those parts that I missed. But back to what I was saying, I felt like the story was just awesome. I felt like it was awesome, and I'm gonna go from my thoughts kind of back this way because I kind of gave a little bit of a precursor thing, but I thought the Trojan scenes were awesome. Agamemnon, straight up aura coming in there, awesome. He had 4 minutes of screen time as well. He was cool every moment that we saw him. Basically would have been like Darth Vader at the end of Rogue One. He got a little bit more, like he got 1 minute, but the minute we saw was like the coolest thing ever. We got like 4 minutes. 4 minutes of Agamemnon, and those 4 minutes were awesome. The ransacking Troy was really cool. The Cyclops scene, awesome. I was a little bit, they were like, it's really horror and really scary. It really wasn't. I didn't think it was that scary. That's why I was like, because it was loud. I should have made that first off. I saw it in Dolby Cinema. It needs to be seen in Dolby Cinema or IMAX. I went and saw it in Dolby Cinema, and it doesn't like rattle your chair and move you around like I think like 4DX or whatever the one does, where you like move around with it. It just like slightly, nudges the chair and has a little bit of vibration. Awesome. Well, that made the entire experience. You felt like you were there and experiencing this with Odysseus and with these characters. The Cyclops was freaking intimidating. It was ugly. It was grotesque, and I loved it. And what made this even cooler was it was like no CGI. Like they made like this little monster, and then he went in there and did it, and it was like, wow. The way he went in there and did the Cyclops scene was freaking awesome. It was a little bit weird because again, like I was expecting them to kind of go into more of the cunning, and that was kind of just like glossed over, but the story was great. I'm telling you, for me, I'll get to the score at the very end, like my opinion of out of 10 I would give it to, and then I'm going to talk about the score as in the music as well. But the Cyclops scene was amazing. Unfortunately, I did miss a little bit of the changing the pig scene as well, but I loved how like Odysseus just came off of like, I just want to get my guys home. I want to get my guys home. I'm here to try to protect them, get them home. They just want food. And then like the Cersei was like, they're pigs, that you can see their nature. And it was like, really, I was like, they seem kind of legit. Like they don't seem like they're like that bad. And then you kind of go along in the story, and it was like, oh, she was not kidding. That scene I thought was great. The conversation they had, and you're like, you're not gonna kill her. She's a witch. He's like, we're gonna try to get home. You know, we made a treaty here. We made a little. There was respect, and then there was honor. There was like a lot of honorable things that Odysseus did in this movie that I particularly enjoyed. Then from there we get them. I think, or actually, I messed that up because when they went onto the shores, they had these like 7 foot tall giants, or it was 7 feet tall people with 5 foot tall women, and then they scaled that up. Also freaking cool. So it was like zero CGI whatsoever. When she turned them into pigs, apparently that was all animatronics, which was also cool. Everything they did for this movie was practical, and it was just a treat, man. It was just a treat. And I started getting sad. I started getting sad when they went to that island, and then those freaking giants came out with the swords. I was like, oh, like there was like a sense of like, man, this movie's kind of dark when you think about it, because all of his men died. All of them. All of his men died. And it's like I ended up liking one of the guys, and then he became extremely dislikable by the end. But like they're coming out there and they're just breaking these ships with the swords and everything, and it was like really, really sad. It was really sad seeing it. I don't know why it was so sad, but it was like, dang, man, like I put myself, like, imagine you go to war, and then it's like you're just trying to go find food, and then they're just taking out everything. Then I went to Xerxes. Then they went to like see these dead people, where they like sacrificial lambs to the ground. We saw these dead people rise up. Thought that was awesome as well. Seeing them, and they were like warning. He's like, I went back to Agamemnon was like, I went back and saw my people, and I got killed. So you need to be careful. You need to be careful when you go back to, oh, what was the name? Ithaca. When you go back to Ithaca, because people might not be rocking with you like that. They might have switched up on you now. They might have switched up on you now. But I love that part, and then they tell him like, you are going to be the only one that survives this journey. Your men will not survive. They're not going to survive. They will not survive this. It was really cool here, speaking of to the dead. Obviously, we have the controversial character in Sinon. I liked that situation where Robert Pattinson, you know, back there, I guess back in Ithaca, I didn't really touch on, where you have like Robert Pattinson trying to get with Penelope, which is Anne Hathaway's character, and you have Tom Holland's character. He's going over trying to find his dad and everything, which I thought was interesting as well. Robert Pattinson was outstanding in this. The range he has is just incredible, because you know, you see him in Twilight, you see him in Batman, and then he is just super dislikable, total scumbag in this movie, but it's like he's playing it so well that it's just, he's just that good of an actor, which was very good as well. And then you have Tom Holland and him beefing back and forth. They have, you know, a couple moments, a couple exchanges there, which was really interesting to see. Tom Holland was getting, like I said earlier, aggressive in some of the scenes, which is usually doesn't play a character like that. So seeing him convey emotion and things along those lines was super cool. I thought he was fantastic in this movie. Robert Pattinson was fantastic. Anne Hathaway was fantastic. I just want to keep reiterating that because they really put on some amazing performances. Then from there, we see the siren scene was awesome. The score for that scene was awesome. They go by the sirens, they attach him to the boat. You see like the physical anguish and pain that he's in for hearing the song. So he does the cunning stuff, but it's just not touched upon, you know, like he's super smart. Odysseus is super smart and super genius, and you see him do super cunning things. It's just not like as potent, like it's not as pronounced, like they don't make it as big of a deal as they do in the book, which I think is like, thinking about it, it's like, oh, it's not as big of a deal now, I think, as it would have been. But that the score for that scene, the anguish they were in, the way that they maneuvered, and I love the fact that he is still trying, even though he was told, your men are pigs, your men are not going to back you up, they are not going to do the things that you want them to do. They are not going to survive this journey. You will. They will not. And he's still trying to save them. And they go through, and that octopus or monster comes out, grabs people, eats them. And then the guy that I told you I liked, and this is where I started to slowly dislike him, he's like, well, people are dying. And he's like, you all are going to die, is what I was told. I am trying. Unfortunately, I have to, cut the costs. And a few might have to die so I can save the rest of you. And it's unfortunate, and I don't want to do that, but I'm trying to do my best on saving you guys. Then they end up on the island. Don't kill any cows or any cattle. If you kill the cattle, you will die. He didn't even want to dock. He said, we're not going to dock. His team forced him to, or his army forced him to dock. Later on, they ended up eating the cow. He was triggered. The lightning scene. Some of these, that scene right there, I was like, you know what, I'm glad we do not have to take boats to travel places, because that looked absolutely horrible. Like, imagine being on a boat like that and you have to row it, and it's storming and water's on your face and it was like flashing, and you felt, in Dolby Cinema, you felt like you were there. You felt like you were there. Every time I was getting hit with a flashing light, I thought it was in Men in Black. Like, I was like, whoa, who am I? Where am I at? And that scene was awesome. Then Odysseus washes up on shore. We have him with, I think Athena. I think it was Athena. I'm not 100% sure. I ended up, unfortunately, having to use another bathroom break. So I'm sorry, guys. I can't give you guys the review you deserve because of me having a small bladder. But I saw all the main points. That last 30 minutes was aura personified. When we see him meet Sid the Sloth, unfortunately, I don't remember his character. Some of these, there were so many different names and they were all hard to pronounce. He was just an old man farmer. And I loved that he reunited with him. And he's at day one, bro. He was at day one. Find yourself a friend like him, because he was at day one. He didn't switch up. He's like, can't wait for Odysseus to come back. Oh, you guys are all sitting here? You're eating Odysseus's food. Remember that. Remember that, Robert Pattinson's character. You're eating Odysseus's food, and you're allowed to be up in here. Just wait till he comes back. The absolute aura, not to mention even before this, the bow and arrow stuff, absolute aura. The sound, and then the ding, and then he uses that, and then he fires it. I mean, the honor of, and what I liked about this version is, like, Odysseus was so honorable, and it was so respectable. Like, this was somebody you could look at and find inspiration from, of how honorable he is. Like, he doesn't even, they're like, why are you giving the boar a warning? He's like, because I want it to be fair. I want him to have the opportunity to run, and I want to have the opportunity to shoot it. And they're like, or not shoot it, but I guess it would be considered shooting it with a bow and arrow. And just that scene alone, but him, being mysterious, going and helping out Telemachus there, and then coming back, and then they kind of have an exchange where he kind of goes, and then he goes in there, he throws Sinon's little, the thing, because Robert Pattinson's character was sitting there talking around. He's like, I was supposed to go to war, but he told me to stay back and watch you, which is not the case. He grabbed the little boy, gave the little boy the stick that he basically got drafted to go to the Trojan War, and he ended up dying. And he did come back. I don't know if I explained it. He came back as like a ghost and talked to him and was like, I want you to go to this place out west. I want you to honor our people. And he said, when I do that, but he was pretending to be Sinon in this situation with the hood, complete aura, throws it to Robert Pattinson's character. He's like, where'd you get this from? And he's like, that's not mine, throws it back to him. Then we get the 12 acts scene after this. Aura, like, just thinking about it was so awesome. I guess I am skipping over a little bit. Robert Pattinson's character was going to kill Telemachus because he wants to be the heir to the throne. He doesn't know. He thinks the beggar with the hood is Odysseus. Odysseus is speaking to Penelope. Also, You know, if you want to find yourself a friend like the farmer, get yourself somebody like Penelope, because she was a ride or die, let me tell you. 20 years, never switched up once, day one for real. Odysseus never switched up either, which apparently he did in the book. I feel like I like this version a little bit better. I feel like, again, we read snippets of the book. We read like the cool parts of the book. I don't think we ever read the full thing, probably because it did get a little bit inappropriate from what I looked up, and that was ninth grade at the time, so that was probably why. But this version, he comes in, they do the 12 axes. Robert Pattinson's character is like, no one's going to be able to do that, but you just need to go ahead and pick. Odysseus in the back is like, let me get a try. And it looks like he can't do it, looks like he can't do it. Then he goes ahead. Ding! The score, I heard people dissing on the score. I thought the score was sensational. One of probably the best scores I've ever heard in my life. Because that ring, like the ring in the siren scene, I felt is super distinct. I've never heard it. I thought it was super well done, where you're seeing the pain of Odysseus attached to it, and you don't get to hear the sirens, but you're hearing like this score. Awesome. The score in this scene, where he gets the bow and hooks it up, and then I got jump scared a few times. Because of just like how loud it was in the theater, but just the things that they did. Like when he went zing, and then he shot the arrow right at this one of the guys that was Robert Pattinson's friend. I was like, whoa! I jumped in my seat. I wasn't expecting that. Well, he actually shot it through the arrows and did it, and then they figured out he was Odysseus. Then he proceeds to take out 20 people, and again, because I didn't know I knew like the Cyclops and the Sirens, and I knew all of the stuff Odysseus did and what he came back from. I didn't know the end of the story. He like gets really beat up, really stabbed. I'm going all over the place, guys, my apologies. I did forget to leave out that he was seeing Zendaya's character as somebody that got their head cut off in Troy. And he was seeing that, and he was telling Penelope that, like, you know, Odysseus might not be the same person that you knew because of the things and the animalistic and the primal instincts that he saw come out in Troy, that he felt ashamed of, which I thought was a really interesting take, as I previously stated. But then he goes out there, takes this whole room out, and then I'm like, oh my God, he's got stuff, and they're like, yeah, he's like, I came all the way. She's like, oh, I can't believe it's gonna end like this. He goes, oh no. We're going out west to go honor my people. And I was like, if Odysseus died, that would have been absolutely gut-wrenching. He lived. I give it a 9 out of 10. I thought, the more I think about it, the more I replay him just being in the hood and playing that and seeing the farmer was such a feel-good moment for me. Because like the farmer didn't even realize who he was, and he was like, again, a day one Odysseus defender. The dog scene was great. Telemachus, him finally meeting, and then they go their separate ways. And then that callback to the beginning of the movie, where like, we're going to sail out west and we're going to see the sunset, and the thing was a beautiful ending. I absolutely loved this movie. I give it a 9 out of 10. One of the best movies I've seen in a very, very long time. I really enjoyed Deadpool Wolverine, but I don't think Deadpool Wolverine's going to, compete with it. I think I might have to go back across the Spider-Verse. I think it's a big event style movie. The only movie I can think of in recent memory. I don't think Avatar 3 contends. Avatar 2 probably is the only movie I can think of recently, which was 4 years ago, that I saw, that probably can contend with this in recent memory. As in style and the epicness, because Avatar 2 was kind of like epic. There was a battle scene. It had like this vibe to it where, superhero movies, maybe Doomsday can compete, maybe Spider-Man can compete, we'll see. It's a different style movie entirely. Not that Avatar 2 is similar, but I mean as epic and as grandiose. I think Avatar 2 is one of the more comparable films, but I highly recommend go seeing it. I absolutely loved it. I just thought everything about it, and it was like the adventure and the heartbreak, like seeing, I'm telling you, like halfway through, I'm like, man, this is sad. Like, all these people are dying. And then it's like he finally gets home, he's in the cloak, and he just absolutely aura farms. Or if you don't know what that means, he is just absolutely badass for the last 30 minutes of the film, in the hood with the bow, shooting it through. I guess I did know that. I pretty much knew everything. I just didn't know, like, some of the plot points I think we might have glossed over. But just awesome. Just an awesome movie. One of the best movies I've seen in a very, very long time. One of the best movies I've seen in a very long time. Is it perfect? No. I think there's very few movies out there that are completely perfect. This is, to me, I was going to say 8, maybe 7, 8. When I first saw it, it's become a 9 for me. I highly recommend everyone go see it. And you got to see it in an IMAX or Dolby. Unfortunately, I don't believe we have a 70mm IMAX near me, but Dolby Cinema was just as good. You felt like you were there. It's an epic. It's worth seeing. Does it compare to 300? I do not know. I think it's like, it's weird because I feel like it's right there. I feel like it's right there with 300. 300 I think is a little bit more action packed. I think I might still take just 300 a little bit more, but it's a different style because 300 is only like an hour and 51 minutes. This one's 3 hours long. That one really wasn't an epic, but like the fight scenes and then the aura in that film is, well, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. This one's, I don't know if it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It could be top 10. It was great. I definitely want to rewatch it again and see some of the parts that I missed, because I'm sure it was good. But the love story was fantastic. Did it seem a little bit long? It did. It did seem a little bit long in certain things where I was like, whoa. Like I went to use the bathroom. I'm like, oh, we've only been in this 45 minutes, and it seems long, but it's like that end, that 30 minutes at the end, maybe even to an hour, was like, you were so engrossed. Like I had to use the bathroom bad for a 4th time, and I was like, I can't get up now. Like we've come this far. I need to see what's gonna happen, and it was awesome. It was awesome. The practicality. I know that there's conversations that he might make a horror movie, which I think would be very interesting. I don't know what kind of horror movie he would make. He wants an idea. Christopher Nolan, go ahead and make us a Sasquatch horror film. Would be epic. And if there's one guy that I think could pull it off, would be Christopher Nolan. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys have a great rest of your day.